I believe that the startup organization is one of the greatest forms to make the world a better place.
You're going to be constantly facing the extermination of the company, because most startups fail.
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that's so true about business as well.
What are the reasons companies fail? The number one reason that we see is a single co-founder. A single co-founder can tell himself or herself the same stories and begin to believe them. Unless you've got somebody to tell you when you're phony, you're going to run into problems.
The big reason I see startups fail is they are creating a solution that doesn't have a problem.
I tried to look at what factors actually counted the most for success and failure across all these companies, and the results really surprised me. The number one thing was timing. Execution definitely matters a lot. The idea matters a lot, but timing might matter even more. And the best way to really assess timing is to really look whether consumers are really ready for what you have to offer them.
Running out of money doesn't kill a company. Bad employees don't kill a company. All the things you hear about, all the things you read about, they help kill a company for sure. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing that kills a company, and that's when the founder gives up.
There are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough, that you do it in spite of fear.
This video is an analysis of 4 companies that started with great promises but soon became classic examples of startup failure.
Sending a package these days can be such a hassle. You got to find the right size box, and then you got to wait in line at the post office, and then it could cost more than what you're expecting. Well, a San Francisco startup is looking to take all that out of the equation by doing all the work for you.
It's been dubbed the Uber of shipping. Ship is the app where someone will come to your door, pick up the item you want sent, and send it, eliminating the need for you to leave where you are. The app is barely a year old, but the founders are making commitments for the long term, and Ship isn't wasting any time. Since its founding in 2013, the company has expanded service from San Francisco to Manhattan and Brooklyn, Miami.
In the spring of 2016, as the founder and CEO of Juicero, Doug Evans was a darling of Silicon Valley. The top venture capital firm saw so much promise in his $700 Wi-Fi connected home juicer that they showered him with more than $120 million in capital. Juicero had high-profile fans, too. Kobe Bryant invested.
As athletes, we're always looking for products.
Here's Doug.
In a now-deleted Instagram post,
Juicero.
Oprah promoted it.
So here's the deal, everybody. I have one, and now you all will have one.
Even Ivanka Trump was a believer. According to Evans, it was the Tesla of juicers, until someone looked under the hood.
According to a Bloomberg report, a couple of Juicero investors were a little surprised to learn the company's juice packs can be squeezed by hand.
This is just pretty much everything wrong with Silicon Valley design today. It's a solution for rich people that's worse than the problem.
By last fall, just a year and a half after it launched, Juicero was dead. Now, what do you think the media got wrong about Juicero?
Everything. They just had no clue.
Tell me more.
I mean, it's not even worth my breath. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it.
What did they misunderstand about
everything? Well,
like
William, I'm done. Next.
You're not going to tell the media?
No. We're done with Juicero.
No Juicero.
No more Juicero. I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to walk away.
These are yaks.
If you have like a funny thought or you have a relevant piece of news you want to share with your local community, that's what you can get.
24-year-old Tyler Droll and Brooks Buffington are the founders of Yik Yak. It's an app that's now reportedly valued at $400 million. The app, whose name was inspired by the classic 50s song,
Don't tell that,
lets you send anonymous messages and read chatter within a 1.5-mile radius. Users vote up comments they like and vote down ones they don't.
After launching in 2014, Yik Yak began to develop a reputation for hate speech and violent threats. 2015 was a particularly rough year for Yik Yak when a student from Western Washington University was arrested for attempting to organize a lynching of the student body president through the app. Then it was revealed that Yik Yak had been systematically downvoting and removing any post that mentioned competing apps or websites. By 2016, Yik Yak was known as the home of cyberbullying, and 60% of their staff were laid off. The app was once valued at over $400 million, but it was shut down and sold off last year for just $1 million.
Doppler Labs, a smart earbud company that raised more than $50 million in funding from backers like Universal Music, Live Nation, and the Churn-In Group, has shut down after running out of cash and options. The company is most known for creating the Hear One earbuds, earbuds that you wore that changed the way you heard the world around you. It augmented the sound. I remember them being priced at like $200. Noah Kraft told Wired that after preliminary acquisition meetings with the Big Five, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, didn't go anywhere, the company was left scrambling to raise more money as lackluster sales of the Hear Ones made it apparent that the startup might not be cut out for the cutthroat world of hardware. And to the Doppler Labs, we say goodnight, sweet prince.
So first question, have you ever created your own startup? And if so, how did it turn out? So the answer is yes. I've actually been part of about 6 startups, either as a founder or co-founder, a couple of which were most notable and were reasonably successful, although sometimes defining failure and success can be quite tricky. But most of my companies have been in the software technology spaces. I was doing my MBA here at Drexel and started a company in the mobile technology space, and actually spent 2 years here on campus incubating it. And that company, we ended up merging with another company and raised about $5 million and focused on technology applications for the hotel industry, which was quite fun and interesting.
What do you believe causes startups to fail overall can be several aspects.
It kind of goes back to the last point, but I'm not going to say that it's about money.
Yeah.
I think it's really about the person who's running the startup, because like when you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, you're always gonna find a way, like period. So a lot of investors will be highly selective on which founder they're backing, and a lot of times they'll make their investment based solely on the founder, which in most cases is probably true, because if somebody's that relentless enough, they're gonna make like an idea that maybe people underestimated into something huge. And even if they just end up pivoting through the process. So it's just like heavily focused on the founder, the individual who's running the company, who's the visionary. So for example, like Steve Jobs, Apple, like Elon Musk, Tesla, right? Like all these people, like Jeff Bezos, Amazon, like if it was somebody else, perhaps the concept would be successful.
Yeah.
Sure, it could be, but would it be what it is? Debatable.
Oftentimes investors, what they do, they'll say, and I believe this is true, that they'll bet on the jockey, not the horse. In other words, they'll bet on who's running the show as opposed to the idea itself. So an A team can take an average idea and figure it out, whereas a team that's a kind of a B or C team with a great idea can make it not work because it just can't operate effectively. The startups that fare well, especially in the beginning, are those that are very well organized. They know how to plan effectively, and they're very good at building a team. Team is actually one of the biggest reasons that startups fail, that the inability to put together an effective team and manage a team effectively are really a couple of the most significant aspects of entrepreneurship and sometimes underappreciated.
A lot of people start companies but also aren't good at motivating people and I guess managing a team, and that's like so underestimated by so many people, where they think it's just like, yeah, my team, but it's like in the early stage of the startup, you don't have any money, you don't have any glory, you don't have any customers maybe, no traction. It's literally just busting your ass and like sacrificing your social life or sacrificing your grades if you're a student founder.
What are some late-stage problems for a majority of the startups in the Beta Institute?
Startups have a hard time raising capital, so they have a difficult time talking to investors and raising money. And a lot of the times that's just really...
So, would you ever say money is ever a factor? You remember you mentioned before in the first question that money, you ran out of money a few times.
Sure.
Would you ever say that is a main factor in which some of your companies fail, or is that not?
Money's more a symptom than a problem itself, right?
Okay.
So even running out of money doesn't necessarily mean, especially in a startup, that you're going to die. Money sometimes is thought of as it'll cure everything, and oftentimes it cures nothing, because even startups that can raise money early oftentimes squander that money because they're not operating effectively. They haven't really figured out their product market fit, and it's actually another essentially data point that most startups fail after raising their first significant round of funding. because they've raised the money, but they haven't really fully determined whether or not it's real business yet, and then they fail. So we always press students to focus on things where you're trying to really solve a problem, and it's a very difficult problem to solve, and it's a very urgent problem, and it happens frequently because that means people are probably looking for a solution, versus if it's more of a nice to have, it's going to be much harder to fight that uphill battle in order to be successful. Another key indicator of startup failure rate is timing. It's oftentimes considered one of the top reasons that startups fail. So you could have a really good idea and a really good customer base, but your timing might be off. You might be
Also, it's a lack of innovation, because people will start at like creating one simple concept, but if you don't continue to innovate throughout the process, somebody's going to come into your space and either just decimate you, or it's just you're not going to be enticing enough as a company to get to where you need to be. So it's not only a lack of capital, it's a lack of innovation and output.
Important how we view failure, which is, let's not be embarrassed by it. Let's actually say, okay, well, we tried a bunch of things, we learned a bunch of things. Those things didn't work, but we're going to use that in some other context or some other startup. I think that's how we certainly view it in the context of starting anything is hard, no matter what it is, and it's really about what you learn more than anything. Sometimes it takes many years for the story to be written in terms of how did it turn out.